And I was like, how about this? President Trump, extending this olive branch and we talked about things we had in common, ending wokeness, securing the border. The president was asking him what he thought about policy, going on with Iran and Israel and things. It just meant it blew my mind. It was, right. I was, very, very proud.
Bob, do you think he walked away liking him? Because, Trump is the type of person that you got to meet him to understand it.
That's conservative rock star Kid Rock discussing the dinner he recently set up between President Trump and political commentator Bill Maher. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like the country might finally be healing and returning to what was considered normal just 15 years ago. Because Bill Maher has now successfully broke bread with a man he portrayed for years as one of the worst human beings imaginable. And despite what liberals might think, the world didn't come to an end. Instead, Maher took to Twitter to thank everyone for their interest and support and say that the dinner was unbelievable. Here's Kid Rock, who also attended, giving Fox News the inside scoop.
I said, man, nothing happens if people don't break bread together and meet face to face. He's been one of the president's hardest critics. And we came to dinner, me, Bill, Dana White, and it could not have been better. Everyone was so surprised, so pleasant. The most shocking thing to me was, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You've had Biden, Clinton, Obama, everybody. He had never been to the White House, and the president was so gracious. He took us up to the private residence. We saw the Gettysburg Address in the Lincoln bedroom, and I was like, you've never been here, Bill? Absolutely. Bill even said to me, after that, he goes, wow, that was, everybody's mind was kind of blown. Even the president's, I think, because the president called me late night last night, and, everyone was a little suspect about going into this, and even the president kind of alerted to me a little bit like, what do you got me doing?
Right.
And I go, man, we're just trying to show people that, even though we've been pretty hard on each other, that when you get face to face, maybe we could have a little more civility in this country and try to bring people together. That was my whole intention.
Do you sense that anything will change with Bill Maher's show from here? Because I think he's been very fair, to be honest.
That's my hope that, and God bless Bill, too, he even said going into this, he goes, because I go, Bill, I know, some of this Hollywood stuff, it would be great for you to get thrown out, and it'd probably be good for you to double down and be like, I can't stand this guy. And he goes, Bob, I'm not going to sabotage something that potentially could bring us and other people together, just to show that, that family member that you kind of divided with over politics, or that person at the school when you drop your kids off that is a left-wing person, and you're like, that maybe we'll just, hey, we can find things we have in common. And it gets so easy to go on social media. And one thing we learned through COVID was that isolation breeds hatred. We need to get out and talk to one another.
Kid Rock is absolutely correct about the echo chambers created by the media and internet. And say what you want about him, but he was clever enough to appeal to Bill Maher's ego and reverence for the office of the president that he negotiated something that would have been considered unthinkable during Trump's first term. Here's Maher breaking down why he decided to do the dinner and the ridiculousness of the far left's opposition to it.
I just think to meet somebody, first of all, it's an honor to be invited to the White House. Yes, it is. And I've already had a couple of people who I said to them, I'm just going to take it as a backhanded compliment that you glide right past the idea that little Bill Maher from Rivervale, New Jersey, just a humble kid from the suburbs, was invited for a private dinner to the White House. You glide right past that to how dare you talk to him, and that you're not impressed by it at all. I'm impressed by it a lot. I'm impressed out of it. I get to go to the White House. And yes, that is the structure of this dinner, is just let's talk. Let's talk to each other face to face. Let's not stop shouting from 3,000 miles away, So maybe this is a beginning to heal America. Now, I don't have some sort of complex where I think I can heal America. I can't. Okay, let's get that clear. I'm not going to be healing America. But if two guys who've been at each other for so long, there was nobody who was harder on Trump than I was. I feel like I have the credentials. But they also respect me because I'm honest about the woke train to crazy town. And I've also lost a lot of fans for that. The woke people have left the building, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
At the end of the day, it's highly unlikely that Bill Maher will ever move to the right or become conservative, but the mere fact that he chose to engage with Trump is part of what making America great again is all about. I mean, I'm old enough to remember how commonplace it was to have conversations with people who think differently than you, which is why so much of the far left's agenda has been disastrous. It drastically skewed our perceptions and lowered our expectations to the point where we're celebrating people like Dave Chappelle saying rational opinions from a decade ago, or Bill Maher having dinner with President Trump. But the sad truth is, it does require some backbone to say these things, especially when you have any association with the left.
Kid Rock was here a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I want you to meet Trump. He said, I'm going to take you to the White House. So now we're going to do that.
I think that's
and
a
like
good
there will be
conversation.
lots of people on the left who will be like, how dare you talk to this man? I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not playing this game that you mean girls play.
Yes.
Where like, oh, you know what? You can't sit at my lunch table because I'm just not talking to you. Not talking to you, you lost the election. Who the do you think you have to talk to? You know, it's one thing if you win it.
Yeah.
It's another thing if you lose it.
You got to start
kinda
talking to people.
Have to talk to. And I see Gavin Newsom is doing this now. He's changed his tune. He's got a podcast, and the first guest was Charlie Kirk.
I thought that was,
you know,
brilliant. You
and
have
he mentioned me. He said, like, I'm noticing what Bill does, talks to both sides, like is left leaning, but not afraid to criticize the people on his team. Like, we got to get more of this going.
Maher makes an excellent point there about the more politically savvy members of the left catching on to the fact that the majority of people are getting tired of the petty tribalism and identity politics they've been pushing for so long. And while it may be inauthentic or opportunistic from some people like Newsom, the mere fact that liberals even feel the need to do it in the first place speaks to a broader shift taking place in the country, which President Trump embodies and is largely responsible for. But let me know what you think. How do you feel about Bill Maher's dinner with President Trump? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!